health is what I'm all about. This is what I've committed my life to personally, as well as all the businesses that I'm in, all have to do with how do we help people really live healthy lives? I'm a cold turkey guy.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to tell you that I started this diet on a cruise.
Wow.
And a cruise, everybody puts on 10 pounds in a cruise, right? And I said, I'm going to go to a cruise because I've got the most incredible buffet on a cruise, and I can just go through and pick all the stuff that I like to eat that fits in that criteria. My wife thought I was absolutely crazy, okay? But it worked so well because I love seafood, and there's lots of seafood, and I'll eat the whole plate of shrimp, just boiled shrimp, not batter fried or anything. And so I was in heaven and just went for it, and she couldn't believe I was doing this. Anyway, that was quite a few years ago. So anyway, I'm a great believer in cold turkey. And when we have people come in here to the Pacific Clinic that have Alzheimer's, they have dementia, they have strokes, they have head injuries and things that we want to see how much we can reverse those. And we've been really successful reversing them, but we have to have them do the diet, okay? You have to ask yourself, there's really some things that just bother me, okay? So you have a football player, and you hear about them, they've played their career, they've played college, they've played pro, and then they stop playing, let's say when they're 25 to 30.
Right.
Okay, that's about the life expectancy of a pro football player in terms of being able to play that very brutal game that hurts the body, and they have lots of concussions typically, and a lot of them could be minor, but they're getting repeated concussions, okay? And concussions are inflammation in the brain. And you gotta ask yourself, why when they become 50 or 60 years old, they're a mess. They're depressed, they have anger management, they usually end up divorced, and a lot of them end up killing themselves at a pretty high rate. You just look at the NFL's numbers, and the same thing happens obviously in boxing, and soccer is another one because they hit all those headers over and over, okay? And you gotta ask yourself, well, they quit playing when they're 25 or 30. Why are they still, the brain going downhill? Okay, the brain is going downhill because of what's happening in the gut. They have this inflammatory process that goes on, and they're getting the wrong, basically peptides and proteins into the body. The body attacks. These go to the place of inflammation, which is now the brain. They can get across the blood-brain barrier and can go right to where that is, and they attack that peptide because it's not specific enough. It's also attacking the brain. And the brain just keeps going downhill and downhill. And you gotta ask, can you reverse that? The answer is absolutely you can. And we've had now football players that have come in and head injuries and PTSD and TBIs, traumatic brain injury, and they come in and we can reverse that process and actually have them regain cognitive function. And that's one of the things we do here is we measure cognitive function here at the Pacific Clinic. We want to know what their cognitive function is so that we can know that they're making progress. Wow. And there's a lot of things, and I'm not a silver bullet person, okay? Diet is one of the things, but all the other tools that we have here to help regrow any tissue. We can reverse arthritis, okay? You don't have to have aching knees, okay? You don't have to have a brain that's going downhill. You don't have to be suffering from dementia and continuing on. But it all starts typically, not always, down here. There's other things that cause it, okay? Toxins can cause it. Heavy metal poisoning can cause it. Periodontal disease can cause it. The things like when you get bit, like with Lyme disease and those kind of things can cause it. So you have other things that can cause it, but you want to eliminate the most likely cause, which is usually a leaky gut, and we start there. And if we're not making progress there, then we're going to do testing to find out if you have any of these other things also going on in the body. And you can test for that and figure out what's going on. So this is not rocket science, okay? It's good science, okay? And the science really backs up what's happening now. It's changing rapidly from what we had even 10 years ago. And it's some of the stuff that we started doing here at Pacific Clinic 4 or 5 years ago when we put in the recovery zone that has a lot of tools that can really help. Now we have the regenerative center, which is specifically targeted for people with, strokes, traumatic brain injury. dementia, Alzheimer's, those people that really need very directed health and not a kind of a do-it-yourself program.